I believe this is like podcast era. A lot of people are listening to podcasts. Hey guys, you're welcome back to the channel. This is Lifestyle with Hadassah. I'm Esther Ademo, and it's nice to see you guys again. Even though I'm not seeing you, you're seeing me, but if you're new here, hi. I really hope that you like my content and that you decide to join our family by hitting that subscribe button and also turning on your notification so that you'll be alerted every single time that I post a new video. And if you're a returning subscriber, what up? You already know how much I love you guys. Thank you so much for always coming back to watch more videos. You guys are the reason why I keep making videos, because if you are not watching, thank you so much. I don't even take it for granted at all. So guys, today in a few minutes I'm going to be sharing with you different podcasts that I think you should check out this week, because I believe that you love them. No particular order. I love all of them, and they all talk about different things, so they have their different categories. They're all really good podcasts, and I believe this is like podcast era. A lot of people are listening to podcasts. Some people are looking for a good podcast to listen to. I'm sure there are more. I just want to mention these because these are the ones I listen to like steadily. So today guys, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 podcasts that I think you should listen to. I think you love them. I listen to them. I love them. I enjoy them. They are amazing. I love them. And I think you would enjoy them as well. So the very first one is Life Uncharted podcast. You can see me smiling. I'm smiling because one of my friends is a member of the 3 people that run the podcast. So they are basically 3 friends. I'm not even joking. That just gist. I'm like, for real, like when you're listening, you just feel like you're just gisting with your friends. Like these are your friends, you're just gisting with, or you're in the midst of friends gisting. Like, it feels really nice, it feels really warm, it feels really homely. I really like them. Like, aside from the fact that I only know one of them, but listening to them, I feel like I know all 3 of them. Like, it's always really nice.
Today has been a day off, so I've been just chilling, so I have energy. So I'm, as always.
So Shayo, you have been chilling. Well done, no?
Yes, girl, chilling. I'm preparing myself for the next 3 days when I'm actually busy. So, yeah.
Diana, hurry.
So, yes, I'm fine. I'm tired.
So there are 3 girls. I'm just going to be reading everybody's bio to make sure that I'm giving you the most accurate information, aside from giving my own perspective on it. So Diana, Shayo, and Damola are 3 friends who talk about everything as they navigate adulthood and these uncharted waters called life. It promises to be a safe space where they can share their unique experiences, agree, disagree, laugh, and bear it all awesome. Like, this does it justice. I promise you. I don't want to add anything else, because this description actually is what this podcast is about, and I really love the podcast. Guys, check it out. And then another thing I really like about it is basically they're older than me, so I like listening to them because it gives me a different perspective from an elderly person's view. I don't know if you get. So not like they're old, though. Not like they're old or very, very old, or like anti-mature. But basically in age they're a little older than me. And I like listening to grown-ups talk. I like listening to adults talk, because it's not always the case, but many times they have more wisdom, and then they can help us that are still coming behind, because they've experienced something similar, or they are experiencing something similar. It just feels like I'm gisting with my big sisters. That's how it feels whenever I listen to them. So I think you like it, and not just for girls, even guys too. Of course, anybody can listen. It's a really nice podcast. The second one I'm going to be talking about is Conversations with Jules by my girl Juliet, aka CWJ podcast. So Conversations with Jules podcast. Her name is Juliet. This girl has wisdom for her age. She has wisdom. Wisdom. I also like her podcast because, again, like I said, while Life Uncharted gives me the view of an elderly person, Juliet's closer to my age, younger, but still I can see life from the eyes of somebody younger than me. And then like she brings her friends on the podcast, brings different people, not necessarily her friends. Like, she brings different people on the podcast. They talk about different things. Like, I just like listening to her. She has wisdom too. She has wisdom nuggets. Like,
you know what I mean? Like, don't fall into the loop of, trying to do things just because everyone is doing it. learn to really, really, really.
Let me just read her bio. The CWJ podcast talks on several life topics from a Christian point of view. Very key. Yes, she always looks at it from a Christian point of view. So she'll be like, oh, what do you think about dating as a Christian? So if you're a believer, you would like this podcast. Juliet shares her own life stories with listeners and gets perspectives from others while hosting them on the podcast. CWJ podcast hopes to be a fun, loving space for listeners, and I promise you that is what it is. The next podcast I will talk about is On Record with Money podcast. Now this one is for all my music lovers. If you love music, let's say you love music but you never really know much about music, just go and subscribe to Manny's podcast. He will enlighten you, he will embroaden your mind. Like, I learned about the difference between Afrobeat and Afrobeats on his podcast. One of the podcasts I was listening to, he talked about sampling in music, the difference between sampling and covers. He does like reviews too. So for The Voice, for what's the other one? Nigerian Idol. He did a review, gave his own idea, who he thinks is better, why this person should win, all those kind of things. Just basically music. He also brings some guests. They talk about different people. They do like album reviews. So maybe when Stormzy's album came out, he talked about it there, and I'm like, I need to go and listen to this album.
We did not just know about it, but I had the same kind of experience, yeah. When I saw it, I was like, why didn't I know about this? Because I mean, I'm also a fan of Stormzy. I listen to Stormzy. Blinded by Your Grace was from his Gang Signs and Prayers album. So I mean, I was like, why didn't I know about his album? So my first impression was wow as well. I was like, this is really nice. And what I also noticed was the R&B feel. We had so many R&B feel because of the features and Jacob Collier's brilliance.
He did an album review for, what's her name, Asha, with his friend. It's a really lovely. It's a really lovely podcast. It talks about everything music, and I love it for that. Like, I love it, and it's fun. Let me read his bio. On Record with Manny podcast is a music podcast series hosted by Manny. It is a podcast where the host talks about music-based topics with special guests. Yeah. So music commentaries and interesting interviews for listeners globally. The next one I'll be talking about, which is the fourth one I'll be mentioning today, is one of them, my friends. Yeah, Tomiwa. That's the name of one of the guys that hosts the podcast. The name of the podcast is the Alive Podcast. Now, again, this podcast is also centered on the believer. So, again, just like Conversations with Joes, they look at a lot of things from the perspective of a believer, which I mean, I believe is something that every believer should do. Like, we don't just look at things the way the world looks at it. You have to look at it from the perspective of the believer. So it's really great that we have platforms like this that have the believer in mind when they discuss topics and stuff.
I like it. That was not sure. The individual becomes a different kind of person when you consume all that. Like, you don't really become, in my opinion, the person that you are really, because you see certain things and then you go, I put out this post and I didn't get the
bio says, welcome to the Alive Podcast, a space for candid conversations, vulnerability, and biblical depth. I like it because many of the other podcasts I listen to are ladies talking. So I'm glad that I can also hear a guy's perspective. I can also hear from the guys. So go and check it out. And they are not just rubbish guys, they are believers. So check it out and come back and thank me. And finally, guys, the last but definitely not the least, I'm going to be talking about the Mo Chung's show.
The bias there when it comes to names. And I think when you think of East Asian, you think of intelligence, right? You think of Chinese people are so smart. They're really good with numbers. They're really good with this. When you think of Indian, you think of intelligence. When you think of Bangladeshi, you don't think of intelligence. You think of poverty. These are all things that data has shown us. You think of African, you think of discipline. So
You think of discipline?
So
Discipline?
Yeah. So in the workplace, they will see an African person is probably more likely to stay longer.
Wow.
And work really hard.
Yeah, that's there. Yeah,
You know,
and that plays
in comparison.
out. Yeah.
And you see it, right?
So Mo Chung has a podcast. even though most of the times I listen to her on YouTube, because I also follow her on YouTube, I watch her on YouTube, I'm subscribed to her. So, but she does like this podcast where she will bring different guests, or she would even talk about stuff. I really like, actually, I like to listen. If there's one person I just like to listen to talk more chunks, I just like to sit down. Let me just be hearing her. Let her be talking, speaking with her sweet accent in my ear. like I just like to listen to her. I love her perspective on things. Like I like how she sees things from different perspectives. I'm not trying to be too controversial or just controversial for no reason. Like you actually see reason and logic in the things that she says and she talks about. So yeah, I follow her on YouTube. I watch her on YouTube and stuff. So but the thing is, the podcast episodes on YouTube are not full, so maybe just half of it. So after listening to half of it, to hear the remaining half, you have to go to the podcast. So you can just subscribe to our podcast and listen there. Her bio says chunks of lifestyle, fashion, entertainment, and relationships. How you to some chunks of life, chunks of fashion, chunks of entertainment, chunks of relationships. Oh, hey, give me some more, give me some more, give me some more. Oh, basically it's a talk show. It's basically a show. It's like a TV show on its own. She brings really amazing guests on the show, and she also has really wonderful perspectives on life. So guys, in a very, very, very short summary, those are the 5 podcasts I think you should check out this week, because I believe you would love them. And let's not stop there. Let's continue the conversation in the comment section. What are the podcasts that you listen to? What are the podcasts that you love? What are the podcasts that you would like to recommend to me, to us, to every one of us? I would like to hear your thoughts. I would like to see them. There's one podcast that's coming to my mind now, well, I have a feeling somebody's going to say it in the comment section, so I won't say it. Let me hear you guys in the comment section. What are the podcasts you listen to? Recommend for us. Alright. Thank you guys. If you're still not subscribed, hey, Jesus. Hey, my God. Don't do that. Don't do that. Change your life. Please subscribe before you leave this place. Thank you. God bless you. I'll see you guys in my next video. Stay healthy. Stay safe. Love you guys. Bye.